Welcome back, tennis obsessors, to another video. As you can see from the title, we'll be doing a comparison between the new Babolat Pure Aero 98 and the new Head Speed Tour 97. Both big releases this year, so let's find out which is better. With the new format of comparisons and reviews of rackets on the channel, there is a further addition to how the rackets are compared. There's a new point system being added, where after each shot and drill, i.e. forehands, backhands, etc., the racket will receive a rating out of 10. And at the end of the video, the scores will be added up to see which is the highest, and in turn the better racket subjectively. Starting off with the forehands. I found that the Aero had a little bit more of a consistent shot with more power and slightly more spin, whilst being that little bit more forgiving. I find the Speed Tour goes through the air quicker, also producing a better flat shot. And when you try to rip the ball with the Speed Tour, it has a surprising amount of pace, just not as much as the Aero has. But I will say it has a better ability to direct the forehands than the Aero does. So for this, I'm giving the Aero an 8 and the Speed Tour a 7. I have individual reviews of both rackets on the channel where I talk about how they play alongside the technology used in the frames. If you want to see either of them, there will be a link in the description, so go check that out. Onto the backhands. I find the Aero with its little bit more forgiveness is more helpful on a one-handed backhand than the Speed Tour is. But this isn't me saying that the backhand with the Aero is amazing. It doesn't have as much topspin as I would like, and it can't seem to deal with those low flat balls bouncing on the baseline that well. I find that the Speed Tour goes through the air that little bit too quickly, and if you hit off center, it buckles easier in the hand. Although, once again, it has that little bit better direction, meaning you feel more connected to the ball. But I'm not really a fan of either of them on the one-handed backhand, so I'm giving the Aero a 7 and the Speed Tour a 6.5. If you want to see either of these rackets feature in my perfect setup series, where I test different stringing setups to find the perfect one for you, then let me know in the comments down below. Moving on to slice. The new Aero, although lacking some feel, has a really good ability to get that slice low and deep. I found once again the Speed Tour to have that better feel over the ball, making it easier to direct the slice. But it requires a lot more follow through and racket head speed to get the depth. But its low launch angle does keep the ball low over the net. So I'm going to be giving the Aero a 9 and the Speed Tour an 8. Next up, the drop shot. I found the Aero to be good on the forehand and backhand side. The added power means you don't have to follow through the ball as much, making it easier to get over the net. The Speed Tour's lack of power does mean you have to come through the ball that little bit more, but I found it was a bit more manoeuvrable, so getting under the forehand drop shot was easier. But it's slightly less forgiving if you hit off the centre, and it's still better at directing that drop shot. So with that, I'm going to be giving the Aero an 8.5 and the Speed Tour a 9. Looking at the volleys, the Aero stability and forgiveness made it easier to block hard shots and punch volleys away, and it was way better on getting a high backhand. The Speed Tour's feel made finding angles and drop volleys easier to hit, but hitting outside the centre can give an unpredictable volley. So I'll be giving the Aero an 8.5 and the Speed Tour a 7.5. With the serving segment of the video, I show the first 5 serves with each racket, as it would be unfair to serve more with either racket. Finally, the serves. I can't wrap my head around why this is, but I find the Speed Tour to be probably the best racket I've ever used for serving. A good amount of power, direction, and the slice and kick serves are good with it as well. For a racket that isn't that forgiving or stable, its serving is phenomenal. The Aero still has a decent serve with a nice bit of pop on it, but the direction does let it down. It has a good flat serve and its kick and slice are decent. I just don't think it can compare to the Speed. So for this, I'm giving the Aero an 8 and the Speed Tour a 10. I just don't think it can be topped. Let's have a look at the final scores. The new Aero with a score of 49 out of 60 and the Speed Tour having a score of 48 out of 60. So looking at the rackets overall, I'd say the Aero is a better racket that suits my playing style a little bit more. Once again, the serve with the Speed Tour is ridiculous. As always, thank you for watching the video. If you enjoy this comparison, then feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It does really help out. And I will see you in the next one.